And action.
Ow! Hey, it's Kevin and Fred. Do you have a referral for us here in Phoenix? There are 30,000 agents here that you could send them to. Why us? Well, for one thing, we'll keep you updated and you'll never have to track down your commission.
We'll also make you look really good to your client. And best of all, it helps us keep all this content free. So go to kevinandfred.com/referral to make the introduction. We'll take great care of them.
All right, we're back, and this week on the Kevin and Fred Show, I'm joined by my friend Karen Cooper. Karen, how are you doing today?
I am so good. Thank you so much for having me on today.
Yeah, my pleasure. I'm glad we could do this. I've been wanting to do this for a while. You and I, it's funny, you and I actually met on a podcast. I don't know if you remember or not, but Pat, before he sold his podcast, him and I were doing a weekly show, and he couldn't make it one week, and he set us up, and I was like, man, I really like her. She's cool. So I'm glad that now, instead of talking about news and things like that that's going on in real estate, I'm glad we get to talk more about you.
Thank you. I'm excited to do it. Yes, I do remember that. Loved Pat, loved his podcast, and that was fun kind of getting to be Pat Hyben for a day. How many people can say that?
Not many, right?
Yeah.
So you're a much nicer, better looking Pat than Pat too. I can tell you that. As someone who considers himself Pat's friend, I think I could say that and get away with it. So he's a cool dude though. I'm glad I like that guy. I'm glad he connected us. So let's do this if we don't mind. So you're out in like the DC metro area, a part of the world in Leesburg, Virginia. I didn't screw that up, hopefully.
Yes.
Tell us about your real estate career. Let's just start there. Like, how long have you been in real estate,
Sure.
and why did you start? Like, what made you decide to get into this business with the rest of us crazies?
So I've been in business for over 18 years now. And it was funny. I always say that I got into business by accident, but of course we know that there are no accidents. And I had been working in the pharmaceutical industry, not in sales. I was never in sales. I was project management. I worked on patient registries. I did marketing and marketing research. And I was getting laid off it was like, I think my third layoff. The hub for pharmaceuticals is not in the DC metro area. It's actually in New Jersey. And I didn't want to move. I had a job offer to go there, but I decided I wanted to do something different. I wanted to stay. My whole family is here. And I happened, with my fiance, who's now my husband, we were buying and selling a house for sale by owner, which was, again, like a coincidence. We were buying the house next to his parents and I was selling my house. But I was the one who was explaining the paperwork. I got the paperwork from the title attorney. This is 18 years ago, like before, anything online. So I'm trying to find comps in the newspaper. And so I'm doing all of this stuff and I've never done it either. And I realized when I needed to do a career change that, let's try that real estate thing, right? Because that seemed kind of fun. And so I did. And I joined a rainmaker team. I worked for Sherry Wilson, who at the time was like the top agent in RE/MAX, top team in RE/MAX. So that's actually how I met Pat originally.
Oh, okay.
The first time Pat had came in and shadowed her in our office. And so that's how I started. And I have held basically every position that there is to hold in the real estate industry. I was on a rainmaker team. I've been an independent agent. I am now a team leader. I've been a managing broker. So I kind of have all of that perspective going on.
Hold on a second. You've been a managing broker, just like a glutton for punishment or what?
Totally. I thought it was the easy way out. And let me tell you.
Oh my gosh.
I learned that lesson real quick.
I got to tell you, it's probably, no, I guess it would have been before we met. We almost started our own brokerage. Just like, just an independent for our team. Like we weren't trying to start like a brand or anything. Just to operate our team. But because we operated a few different states, we were going to have to open, and we kind of got like halfway down that we actually had two of the brokerages open, and the other two entities were open or, it formed, but weren't officially a brokerage yet. And we just kind of were like, whoa, what the heck are we doing? Like, this is not our dream. Like, let's stop right here.
It is not for the faint of heart, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
And, I learned so much, and it really was an excellent opportunity when that kind of presented it. It was not something I was seeking out at all. And it was a great experience for the time, and it taught me a lot of things. One of them being, I don't know that I would ever want to own my own brokerage. So. hence the
Yeah.
team.
Yeah, good for you. Good for you. I'm the same way. So that's cool. So, gosh, so you really have done it all. So you now. So when did you start running your own team? At least in its current iteration. I
Yeah.
know that, and we've talked about like in the past, we've talked about the different roles you've even done in your own business. And being a rainmaker is in and of itself a whole
Mhm.
job. But talk about that even kind of
Yeah.
before you just sort of stepped out of production and
Yeah.
kind of the growth of your team.
Yeah. So 5 years ago, I formed my team, the Platinum Group Real Estate Team. We are with a little boutique brokerage called Pearson Smith Realty. And my business partner is Vicki Neufeld, and we together own the team. We started the team 5 years ago. And when we started the team, our vision really, she and I were both very heavy listing agents. And our vision was we wanted to build something longer term. We wanted to, we had a group of women that we had worked with for many years. We wanted to help them. And we didn't really have big plans. We just knew that we wanted to have a good place for overflow. We wanted to be able to refer our buyer leads to people that we trusted. We wanted to kind of keep more of that commission in-house, right? Because you can only do so much as one person. And that's how we started our team. And now 5 years later, we are a team of 35 women. And last year, we helped 444 families with their real estate needs, and should do more than that this year. And it has that, you want to talk about a wild ride and learning some things. We have learned some things.
I bet you have. No doubt about that. I mean, does any of those lessons like kind of like pop out as like some of the bigger ones?
Well, I think one of the things for us with the team is we are not a rainmaker team, and that was intentional. We consider ourselves, we call ourselves a hybrid team,
Okay.
and so I think one of the lessons, and we weren't sure this could work, I'll be honest, when we did it, is that you don't have to follow the rules, right? You don't have to follow the book that says you have to do it this way to be
Yep.
successful. There's many ways in our business to be successful. And
Yes.
we wanted to create our own thing. And so we did not want the rainmaker team, because our experience when we started out on a rainmaker team is splits were super, super low, right? That's the way it works in order for the team leader to be able to have the capital to do a ton of prospecting and to bring in a lot of leads. Lots of things are provided for you. But the problem is talented people will leave you. They're not going to stay, and you become a training ground. And when I was on a rainmaker team, I saw that. I saw it was like a revolving door of agents. They'd come, they'd learn, and they'd leave. And we distinctly did not want that. We wanted an environment where agents could come and like grow within us and stay. And that has happened. We have very, very, very little turnover. I think we've only ever had 5 or 6 agents move on from us in 5 years. And most of those are because people moved or they retired. So, I feel like we really kind of, we've developed that vision that we ended up having.
That's awesome. Let's do it. Do me a favor. Let's go backwards for a second. When you say rainmaker team, tell
Mhm.
me what you mean by that.
So my definition of a rainmaker team is when all of the business goes under one agent's name, like
Okay.
the team that I was on. So everything goes under that agent's name. That agent is doing all of the lead generation. So when you are on a rainmaker team, the business is kind of provided to you. The leads are given to you. And to me, that's the difference with a rainmaker team.
Got it. Okay. And so in your case, what you said, you didn't really want to go that route. You
Mhm.
wanted to do something different.
Mhm.
Um, so that means what? Like, so give me
Yeah.
more of what you mean when you say hybrid.
Yeah. So we, instead of centralizing the lead generation, we centralize the marketing, because Vicki and I both have had extremely successful businesses surrounding doing business by referral. And we knew that what we had done could be systematized and could be repeated. And so we took that and we took our marketing plans and we basically, I like to package things. Like that's our joke on the team. Like that's my job, is you give me something and I'm going to put it in a nice, pretty little box and I'm going to package it. And so we package that, we call it our client care program, and we centralize that for our agents. So our agents do business in their own name. We have splits that, are very, very high for a team. And we centralize the marketing. So the marketing plan is designed and done for them. Most of it is executed for them. Like it's almost kind of automated. And so our agents get to focus on doing business and doing what agents like to do, right? Which is relationships and writing contracts and showing homes and doing all of that kind of stuff. But the part that they tend to fall short on, we take care of for them, which helps them to then have a more stable, consistent business instead of the real estate roller coaster when you get super busy and then you stop marketing, but then your closings happen and then you got to start all over again.
Yeah. So I have a few questions.
Mm-hmm.
So number one, like 35 is a lot. Like, do you have do you have a goal? Is there like, is this going to be a 50-person team? Is it going to be you can have 100 women around DC metro
Yeah.
area just crushing
Yeah.
it? Like, what do you see this going to?
That's the $1 million question. And we honestly don't have a clue.
Okay.
We just had we are very much like, by feel and by relationship. So we don't hire all the time. Now we do this we do an intentional we call it like a hiring spree. Like once a year, we'll do 1 or 2 sessions. We call it a lunch and learn. We just did one last week virtually. We had 30 women who signed up to participate in our lunch and learn more about our team. So far, we've had 5 who have applied to join us. And so now we will make some decisions based on, what's the right fit.
Cool. Got it. What was my other question? Okay. I mean, 444, it was 444, right? Was that the number for last year?
44
That's a
units,
lot
yeah.
that's a lot of transactions.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is an absolute ton. So you're at a point though where you're not going on listing appointments anymore.
Mm-mm.
So like, are you still
Yes.
running your client care program?
Yes. Yes. So that was something I learned when I was a managing broker, because when I was a managing broker at the time I stopped to manage, I was doing, I think I did like 18, 19 million in volume that year.
Okay.
And I was not allowed to sell. I had just a couple of, like friends or, really close clients that I could sell for, but I was not allowed to sell. I did extremely little marketing. I did like a postcard every other month to my base, and that was it. And I'm a serial tracker. Like I could pull up on my phone right now and tell you how many leads I've had like every year for the last 10 years.
Love
and
it.
I went from like, 500 and some leads that, final year of selling to and then, 2.5 years of being a managing broker. And when I went back to the field, I had only generated 17 leads that year. Like it was like, like it drops off the cliff when you stop being engaged with your business, which is a great lesson for anybody.
Yes.
In real estate.
Everybody needs to, I feel like we all have to learn that and then relearn that a couple of times.
Over and over again. So because I learned that lesson and I have such a strong business, my last year, that I sold most recently was like 25 million. Like I can't just give that up. But something has to give. When you have a team this size, somebody has to manage it. And so I do still sell through my team members. I don't go on appointments. I haven't gone on an appointment in over a year. I do generate business. I market still to my geographic farm. I market still to my sphere very heavily. In fact, I doubled up on a lot of my marketing because I'm losing a little bit of that, like, I'm not as in it, right?
Totally.
Personally. So I do have listings that are listed in my name, but are handled by my team members. And that is helping me to continue to generate leads.
Awesome. That sounds very familiar. So I take a very, very, very similar approach. So that's awesome. So then if you're not going on the appointments every day, like what is your day-to-day like these days?
So day-to-day varies, just like it did when I was in the field. So my priorities right now are managing my team and then also growing my coaching program, which is really kind of an extension of my team. And so, today, for example, we are doing a lot of prep for our annual retreat. One of the things that we do with my team is we plan. You might get the planning theme is coming into play again. We plan everything a year in advance. So everything is done. The entire marketing plan is planned. All of the events are planned, both for my team and for our coaching members. And so that has dominated my last few days. I spend time doing Zoom meetings. I do coaching calls, group coaching sessions with my coaching members, meetings with my team, working on big picture projects in terms of marketing. And then also just my own personal lead generation. I still do that.
Okay. That's good. You struck something in me. Like, I wasn't necessarily gonna ask about this right now, but you mentioned the coaching program. So that, like, I know you've got a Facebook group, and then you've got like group
Yeah.
coaching that goes with it, right? So,
Mhm.
the coaching, if I remember correctly, it's called Empower Coaching,
Yep.
and you have a Facebook group called Empower Women in Real Estate.
Empowering women in real estate. Yep.
Empowering Women in Real Estate. Tell
Mhm.
me, like, what's the goal? Like, what was the driver behind? I say this as someone who also owns a Facebook group. I
Uh-huh.
don't do the group coaching thing that you
Yeah.
do. Um, both of those are labors of love. I don't care how
Yes,
much money you get paid for those. They're both a labor of love.
for
So
sure.
I'm always curious when I meet someone as crazy or crazier than I am, like, what is the driving force there?
Okay, so Empowering Women in Real Estate is my Facebook group, which I started 6 years ago. And it started because I was lonely. And at the time, I was a managing broker. But the thing about being a managing broker is no one wants to talk to you because your own agents only want to talk to you when they have a problem, right? They
Fact.
never want to hear from you because if you're calling them, you probably have a problem with them. And other agents don't want to talk to you because the assumption is that you're going to try to recruit them. So I actually found myself, like, after having worked so many years, like, very closely with other people, like, feeling like lonely. So I started this group, and the whole premise behind the group was really just helping other women, like inspiring, sharing lessons that I have learned. I basically blog. I post 5 to 6 times a week. I have for 6 years in this group, which now has over 16,000 women across the country in it. And that was it. Like, there was no like vision beyond just building this community for women. And then it kind of became clear as things grew, and we had some events that like, there was something there. Like, not only could I take it another level in terms of what I provided, but there was a business there too. Like, there was a way to monetize that. And we just started doing that a little over a year ago.
Cool. And is that's where the coaching program came from?
Yes, exactly.
So tell me about that. What's that like? Like, let's say I just showed up, and obviously,
Mhm.
but like, so I'm a listener, and I go, oh, that sounds cool. Like, I show up at your coaching website.
Mhm.
Um, what do I see? What can I get?
Yeah. So it's a monthly membership coaching program. It's $59 per month. And basically what it does is it solves two problems, the two biggest problems that I see that agents have in this business. One of them is a lack of direction, right? It's morning time. You sit down at your desk with your cup of coffee and, like, now what do I do? Most agents, doesn't matter how long you've been in business, there tends to be a struggle about what do I do next. Agents
So
are
true.
really good, right? We're good at negotiating contracts, and we're good at getting the sale done. But when it comes to marketing or personal branding for ourselves to actually generate that business, most agents really struggle. And then the other one is a feeling of isolation. I think just like I felt lonely in my job, unless you happen to be on a team like I am, even though you're surrounded by people all day long, you may not feel comfortable having conversations with the other agents in your office. Like, they're your competitors too, right? So you don't want to say, gosh, this was so hard today, or, whatever. You don't necessarily feel comfortable. And your family doesn't understand what you do. I mean, my mom, I can remember when I started in business, every day she would call me and say, so did you sell a house today? And I'm like, Mom, it doesn't work like that. Like, that's not how it works. So nobody understands. And so my coaching program solves that, because what I have done is I have taken my client care program that has helped me sell, I personally have helped over 700 families in my career. The program that I have used personally, the program that I have used with my team, and I break that down for the members of our program. So you have your entire marketing plan for the entire year is done for you, including your budget. And each week I give you the actionable steps that you need to do, because it's great to have a plan, but if you can't break it down and implement it, that plan doesn't do you any good on a piece of paper. So I actually walk them through the process to do business by referral and to lead generate in a way that is very authentic to themselves without feeling like they're, like, the used car salesman.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I was gonna say when you said used cars, it's like, did mom thought you worked on a car lot there or something? Like, did you sell a house today?
Yeah, they
That's
just like
awesome.
walk in and say, "Oh, here, yes, here's some keys. Here, buy this house." No, it doesn't work like that.
That's so funny. Wow, that's really cool. So it sounds to me too, and correct me if I'm wrong, like if I'm whether I'm an independent agent kind of doing
Hmm.
my own thing, or
Yeah,
I'm someone maybe a little closer to where you're at or on the same path that you are on, like I could actually build a business around this too with the team and
yeah.
not just myself.
Oh, for sure. Actually, in the program, we have people who are broker owners that own brokerages that then use this program to help their agent. There's team leaders. There's people who are on a team. There's newer agents. We have multiple agents that are 20 plus years in business. So it gives you that kind of structure and plan and system that I think a lot of us really struggle to do on our own.
That's awesome. That's so cool.
Thank you.
I love that. So let me ask you this. So like in the last year or so doing that, like what have been some of the bigger lessons that you've learned? Because anytime you're like leading a community, that's one thing and there's some lessons there. And
Yeah.
then the minute you go and put some things together like a coaching program, there's definitely other lessons there too. I mean, that's a whole other
Yeah.
business at this point.
Yes. Yes. It's a whole other business. And I think one of the things that I have it's not a new thing that I've learned, but it's just continued to reaffirm it for me is that you have to do the work. Like, I will see people join. Like, you can't just give me your money every month and then expect that it's going to make it work in your business. Like, there is nothing in our business that's like that. You can't call any coach. You can't buy any program. You can't send your check to Zillow. Like, there's nothing that you can do that just makes it happen. Like, you have to actually do the work. And I see that all over again through this program.
Yeah.
People will join, and there are some that they just don't do it. They don't actually take the steps and get the work done. And if you don't take the steps and get the work done, you can't build a long-term business that way.
Yeah, I'm smiling over here because yeah, I've experienced that. Totally same thing from leading the community to having done some coaching,
Hmm.
nothing. I backed away, got scared of it long before I
Hmm.
let it get as big as you have.
Yeah.
But yeah, like that's it. Like you actually, no matter what, no matter how much of a, I guess, quote unquote turnkey system it is, like you still have to
Yes.
do the work.
That's it. Well, that's totally it. I mean, it's that is what it is. And what we do is very turnkey, but I see it within my team. I see it in my coaching program. It doesn't matter how, like, I don't want to say dumbed down, but like how clear it is, you still have to do it. You still have to make a call. You still have to, design your words for your postcard. Like, there's just certain things that you have to do, and you just can't get away from that. I'm sorry. This is what it means to run a business.
Yeah, totally. Wow, that's awesome. So, all right, before we go, I've got a couple more questions for you. Before I ask those, my next question is, what should I ask you? Like, what should we know about Karen that I have not asked you yet?
What should you know? It's funny. We were joking today because we're trying to make some hiring decisions, and I had many calls today with my business partner and our director of operations, and I see potential in everyone. So it doesn't matter who you are or where you came from or what's happened or what you've done in your business so far this year. I do truly see potential in every single person. And that, I like to think it's a gift. Some people maybe don't think it's a gift, but
It can be a curse and a gift. There's
it
no
can be a
doubt.
curse and a gift, right? Because, anyway, but yeah, that's my thing.
A buddy of mine said it to me this way I don't know, a year or two ago. He's like, here's the deal. I'm not dragging you to the starting line. I won't, and I like I'm the same way. Listen, like I remember this is probably back in, I don't know, end of 2014, when we realized we knew who we were, what our identity was going to be as this team as we are going forward, and
Yeah.
more importantly, what we had to do to grow it, and kind of like how I knew that I was the one who was going to go throw the gasoline on the fire in the form of recruiting and adding to the team.
Hmm.
So, I mean, I've sat across the table from thousands of agents,
Hmm.
to interview them specifically for the team, and same way, I would just look at someone like, man, there's so much there. Like,
Yeah.
oh, she could do so much more than she's really doing, or
Yes.
oh gosh, why won't he just do that? I just
Yes.
see it and I
Yes.
want them to see it too. And the
Yeah.
truth is, like, they've got to be able to tap into that themselves.
Well, that's just it. That's the hard part because, I can see potential and I can even kind of, give you instructions or, kind of lead you sort of to the path, but you have to be willing to walk it and you have to be willing to see it too. And unfortunately, not everybody can. So I guess that's where the curse part comes into play.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Well, all right. So I'm gonna leave you. Actually, one more question before I leave you with my last question.
Mhm.
What are you either reading right now, or what's the book that you've read in the last 6 to 12 months that hasn't just stood out to you, but like you've taken action on what you read about?
So my favorite book that I talk about all the time is a kind of a little known book, and it's called Making Things Happen by Laura Casey. And it is my favorite book. One of the things that really stands out to me about this book is there is a section of the book that's called The Fear of Success. And I think a lot of times we fear failure. Like it's very natural when we're doing things in our real estate business or wherever we are in our careers, we tend to feel failure putting ourselves out there. But there also is this fear of success because, I'm a mom, I have 3 kids, I have a very busy life. And what if I do this? And what if it works? How will my life change? Will I still be able to pick up my kids from school? Like there's this genuine fear of success that I think resides in a lot of us. And I had never heard it explained before until I heard it in that book. And I have probably read that book 4 times.
That's interesting. I was just having a conversation with a friend in the last less than 2 weeks ago, and we were talking about the very similar thing. And it's like what we're up against. We're all up against this is our own identity of
Yes.
ourselves,
Yes.
whether conscious or mostly subconscious. In fact, the guy who I was talking about with wrote a book called Average Sucks, and
Uh,
he's a good friend of mine, and it's a catchy title because average sucks. No one wants to be average. But what he's actually referring to isn't average, it's your average or it's my
mhm,
average, right? And we
mhm.
all have this average that we're pulled to that truthfully is our deep rooted it's our deep rooted identity. It's who we are.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
unfortunately, for especially for a lot, like the actually getting what we said we want, like
Yeah.
we wouldn't be who we think that we are. And so we're
Yes.
up against our own
Yes.
impression of our own identity and who we are to these other people, to
Yes.
our close friends, our
Yes.
peers, our coworkers.
Yes.
And should we ever do anything different, then I'd have to explain myself to them and to myself, and oh my god, what would happen? And
Yes.
it's so we do these little self-sabotaging things to make sure we don't get too far ahead.
Yep. Oh, for sure. I mean, it is a real thing. It's why when people say to me all the time, like, in our group, people will say, well, tell me, what are the real estate books that I should be reading? Honestly, you don't need to be reading books about real estate. You need to be reading books about mindset, and you need to be reading books about personal development, because there will come a point where you will not be able to go, past a certain level until you work on those things that you are, consciously or not, self-sabotaging and holding yourself back.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is like your business will never grow beyond where you're capable of growing beyond.
Yes.
Like it just won't grow past you.
Yep.
And for some people, like some people have bigger lids. Some of us have
Mhm.
higher natural lids, and
Mhm.
which is why it's super important not to compare, not to do that, my insides versus their outsides type of deal,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because we all start at different points. We have
Yeah.
different starting points,
Yes.
and it's tough. We've got to really focus in on that. And I agree. I remember I was at a personal development seminar, workshop, whatever you want to call it, years and years ago, and there was a lot of people. I realized that there was a lot of people there from network marketing companies, but there's a lot of like people that were
Mhm.
like, quite frankly, making 7 figures a year, like
Yeah.
doing really well at it. And they like everyone, this theme I kept hearing was, you know, if you're going to be good at direct sales, which I later learned is just, pretty much running a business, it, you've got to get really good at working on yourself, because I think the way they refer to it is, um, direct marketing is really basically personal development disguised as business. And I was like,
Wow.
man, like that has stuck with me
Yeah.
13, 14 years later.
Yeah.
And I think it's so true, no matter what business we're in, real estate,
Yeah.
direct
Yeah.
sales,
Yeah.
sell anything, doesn't matter.
Well, we do have to, because there is so much. It doesn't matter what kind of business you do in real estate, there will be rejection. And we all have those, even if you like try to keep it as close as you can. And, I don't cold call and I don't door knock, so I don't have that kind of rejection, but there still will be moments where, people who are your friends or people who worked with you might choose to work with someone else. And like, there's going to be these things that happen. And when you don't work on yourself and when you don't work to push past that, I've seen it happen so many times with different agents, it can derail you when you come up against that type of rejection or that kind of opposition in your business. And so the only way to get past it is to work on yourself.
Yeah, no doubt about that. All right, final question, Karen. So whether I'm a friend of yours or somebody in your Facebook group or coaching, or just a personal, someone in your personal life, someone comes to you and says, Karen, I want to do better. Like, I always like to say it this way. I just want to kick more ass. Like, what are Karen's top 3 pieces of advice for kicking more ass?
Okay. Number one, and this is not exciting, but it's consistency. You must be consistent in whatever it is that you choose to do. You cannot do it one time and expect to succeed. So consistency is my number one. Of course, my number 2 is you have to have a plan. That should be obvious. Some of the things that I've talked about, like you need to have a direction of where you're going. And that means having a plan and a system around it, something that you can then implement consistently. And then I think just the third one is what we were just talking about. It's not being afraid to work on yourself and to constantly improve yourself. I went through a phase of my business where I kind of thought I knew everything. Like, I had been really successful and, I didn't need the training and I didn't need this and I didn't need that. But I realized that was actually holding me back. And so I think when we can learn to kind of put our own ego and put our own success aside a little bit, and really work on ourselves and on improving ourselves in our business, that's really where the magic happens.
That's awesome. Karen, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, my pleasure. I'm so happy to have done it.
This was great. Okay, so where do people find? Give us again the name of the Facebook group, and we'll link to this in the notes.
Okay.
If you have a website for the coaching program or anything else, if social, et cetera, where can people catch up with you?
So I love Instagram. So that's a great way to connect. And so I am Karen.w.cooper on Instagram. And all of my other things are very easy. It's all empowering women in real estate. So you can search for that on Facebook. We have a website by the same name. I have a podcast called Empowering Women in Real Estate, the podcast, which is my most favorite thing. And if you'd like to learn more about my team or have referrals for the Northern Virginia, DC metro area, our website is goplatinumgroup.com.
Awesome. And we'll link to all of that here in the show notes. Thank you very much, listeners. Thank you so much, Karen. And
Thank you.
we'll talk to you guys again soon.
Okay. Thanks, Kevin. Bye.
Bye.